Hello everybody, Rebecca here. This is Python tutorial number 9, and we're going to talk about something called string formatters, and it's just really odd syntax, and so I want you to be aware of it in case you ever see lots of string looking items with percent symbols used. And so I have a file already prepared, and so I'm going to go in and open that file, and let's see, it is called string formatters, I believe. Yes, string formatters. And so just again, another real simple file, but where you're going to import a module this time, just to have a little bit more of an interesting variable, to where this is one way where we can pull out date and time information. And so we're going to import this module. We've talked about importing modules already. We're setting up two string variables here, just something kind of silly that we can experiment with. So somebody's name and their pronoun and a favorite number, very cheesy. I don't know that people really have favorite well, at least I don't have a favorite number, but just something to put in as an integer. And then this will be a variable that will represent today's date. And again, these modules that we import, a lot of this we just have to use documentation for each module to know what each module can do, because all the things that get defined in this module are hidden from us. Now some of these have been created just in Python and you can open them up and look at them, but many of them are created in C, and so you may not be as easily able to open them up and look at them. But anyway, so for instance, there is something in that module that they have already defined as date. So this would be like a function or a method inside of what's most likely a class that's inside of this module. And so this is one way where we can pull up the current date. And so we're gonna pull that information out and set it up as a variable. All right, so we have a handful of variables that represent strings and integers and things that we're using from a module. And then what we want to do is print out some text to where we're going to substitute these values inside of our text. And so unfortunately this is kind of running really long, but I'll move back and forth so you can see this. We're going to print just a simple sentence, and then so our simple sentence, hello friends, today is, and then here's where we start seeing some odd syntax that we may not be used to seeing. This is just a placeholder. So of course, whenever we print this, we want it to show what today's actual date is. So it's a placeholder. Now we could have done some concatenation to where we treat this as its own string and then add to it the string from the variable. So that's one way of doing this, but this is a second method. And then in a second I will show you a third method. And so this is just a placeholder. We're going to substitute in something else later. And so this percent symbol, just watch for those. Now after the percent symbol, we can tell it, is the data going in here going to be a string, a digit of some sort, or something else? And so you'll see three letters that go with this, an S, a D, and an R, and we'll talk about the R here shortly. The R is going to be more very useful for troubleshooting programs. So we're going to say, hello friends, today is blank. Blank is talking, and blank likes the number blank. And so here we have three examples of strings. So whoever has already been defined, we're going to substitute in here. And so you'll notice there's no way to tell it just in the string itself what we're substituting. All we're simply doing is saying, okay, leave this placeholder and expect a string here, expect a string here, and then down here expect a digit. And so once we do that, and all of that is in either your single quote or double quote, then after the quote, then we can come in and tell it what to substitute. And so we're going to substitute, since we had 4 different percent symbols, we're going to substitute 4 different things. And so we're going to substitute, and so the order that you put your variables here has to correspond to the placeholders that you've set up for them. And so today's date is such and such. Somebody is talking, and she or he loves the number such and such. And so all of our percent symbols have been placeholders for these specific variables. And so these specific variables have already been defined, and then we're telling it print this string, but here's what you're going to use for all of those placeholders. And then we list them all in order. All right, so I know that's really long. I'm sorry it splits across the screen like that, but this has been saved, and I'm going to go ahead and run this. And so my function F5 key is just a shortcut. And then so here we come back to idle. The program ran without any errors. And it says, hello friends, today is, and again, this came from our module. This was our variable. Rebecca is talking, and she, again, we had another variable. She likes the number 4. All right, so a string and a number, but then now let me go over and show you, oftentimes you will see an R, which can be very useful. And let me just show you what this is first. And I believe it stands for represent. So what represents that object? And so I'm going to Control S, save it, and then we'll rerun it. And as we rerun it, you'll notice again it runs without any problem. But hello friends, today's date. Notice how this looks different. Notice how we're getting more information than just what we had before. So with the string, you know, this would be what you would want your user to see. But with the R, this is you as a programmer might want to see this because it's giving you much more information about that object. So what was the value of the object, and then where does it come from? So it's coming from this date class inside of this date time module. And so this can be very useful to print these things out as you're debugging. The rest of this is the same. You know, here we have our first name variable with the pronoun and then their favorite number. All right, so just to make you aware, you will see these percent symbols used quite a bit. And I also want to show you that that is more of an older way. As we've moved into Python 3 and later, then there were different ways that we could start doing this. And so that is something called the format function. And so it essentially does the same thing, just with some different formatting issues. And so now we're no longer going to see these percent symbols. So if we're going to use format, we say, hello friends, today is, and then here we have curly brackets. The curly brackets become the placeholder. And so then these curly brackets will get put in with the correct variable that's going to go in these curly bracket placeholders. And so the way we would do this is, instead of using the percent symbol and then listing all the variables, we just simply use a dot notation. So with this string, we have the ability to dot format something. And so we're going to do a formatting feature where we will now put in the same variables, but we just have different syntax. So this is still used, but now this format is becoming kind of the new standard for doing these procedures. So let me save. So Control S, and then we're going to rerun it. And so now we're going to get 2 sentences output to idle. And excellent, they both worked. And again, you'll notice, hello friends, today is, and so this was like our original method where it's the more user-friendly way. And Rebecca's talking, she likes the number 4. If we come back over here, there is a way to still use it for debugging, because inside of these placeholders, I'll take this out because I've already got this typed in. And so inside of these placeholders, there are all kinds of options where we can tell it how to format that data that we're substituting into this bucket placeholder. And so we still have the ability to take our R, or representation type method of formatting, and we can do it in this curly bracket, but now we use this exclamation point to for this syntax to be correct. So again, there's 3 different ways to basically do the same thing. We've seen concatenation. Now we're seeing these substitution string formatters is what they're called. And then the newer way of using the format method. And so then we'll use curly brackets for the placeholders. And then just to show you, I'll move on over here to the right to show you the rest of this is still the same. It's still format with our same 4 variables. All right, so let's save this, Control S, and run it. Our function F5, and then we get our 3 different options. And you'll notice this is where we had our %R, and then this is where we have our exclamation R inside of the curly brackets. And so we can do it user-friendly, or we can, as the programmer, we can get more details. All right, so string formatters, just the old way versus the new way with format. And again, this is just a small taste of all the different things we can do with format. So be sure to look that up for even more great examples that are out there. Thanks so much for watching.